Hi, I'm JM Olofsson. Welcome to the first of a series of video interviews I'm going to be conducting to introduce you to some of the people that I've met in my path who I've found most influential in the way that I go about mine. And some of these people are leaders of the community. They practice different ways in the community. Even some of these interviews will be done with members of Urdr Dypt, some of our founding members, and other members of leadership. Which brings me to our first guest and what we'll be calling the Nine. Welcome, and if you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself.
Hello everyone. For the purpose of this video, I'll go by the name Urdr as a Volva. That is the name that my Desir have spoken to me and to use when speaking about Seder and working as a Volva.
Before we get into the questions that I've set up, I want to tell you, you look great. Would you mind speaking a little bit on what you're wearing or why or how that comes into your practice?
So, specifically for me as a Volva, the horns that gather around my neck, they kind of form Urus, which is a strong motivator to continue and to push forward in Seder and in activities as a Volva when it can be a little challenging, it can be a little exhausting. So the horns represent Urus for me to continue forward, to charge ahead. The veil, anytime that I read, I always have a veil over my eyes. The color blue and black are associated with Volva. There is some debate about the historical wear. We have a great account of a blue dress with a black hood. For me, I choose blue, and I choose to wear black garb as my Desir.
Thank you for that. We'll get into the regular questions now. What got you started on this particular path? Is it something that you've always felt or always known, or is it something that you found interest in as you've gone through life?
For me, I've always been drawn to the path of a witch. When I started digging into my ancestry is when I found the Nordic path, and I had something happen where a complete stranger came running up to me on a street while I was on vacation, and he started yelling at me that I was the bright one. I am a bright one. And started me digging into the Norse path. That happened when I was 23. Some time ago, many moons.
So in your path and in your practice, who is someone that inspires or motivates you to do what you do? Somebody influential in your path?
The goddess Freya, obviously, being the mother of all witchcraft, Gulve, and I'm a huge fan of the work of Freya Norling. I think she does an amazing job bringing to life the old practices of Norse witchcraft.
Well, there are a lot of ways that your kind and your folk go about their practice, a lot of different techniques. Is there a go-to technique that you have in achieving altered states of consciousness or finding your place where you're able to bring forth prophecy?
One of the ways that I generate separation from the material world, where you're able to go into the other world, is through drumming, singing, and the building of energy. But mostly for me, my Desir have guided me in the songs, the singing and chanting to bring about the energy to enter a trance and to enter into receiving prophecy. I am an advocate of substances to bring about trance, but they must be guided and they must be watched by someone who is trained to look for signs where things have gone too far, or or the vulva is not doing well within the ceremony. If physically there's exhaustion or some type of sign that she would need to be pulled out.
In a lot of our practice, study is a big part, reading is a big part, learning is a big part. Do you have a favorite author or favorite piece of literature, even outside of your studies, just through reading? Do you have an author that's really spoke to you or inspired you?
I am a huge fan of the work of Diana Paxson. I think she has done great things for bringing forward old practices. I think that she does great work, and I am a huge nerd in the regard that I love Harry Potter and all things Harry Potter, which is fitting, I suppose.
Right, so what compels you to practice Seether? Is it something that you just feel that you were meant to do, or do you do it as a service? Do you do it as a service for others, for yourself, or what draws you to practice in this way?
Um, I have gifts and talents that were born in from a young age. As an infant, I am able to see and speak with spirits that have passed, and I'm able to interpret what they're trying to tell me sometimes. The Disseer guide me in what to say a lot of times, and they'll show me pictures. But I was born able to perceive these spirits, and they allow me to do it in a grander scale to speak to many people. It gives me a platform and a seat in which I can be of service to the community and to help bring about some either closure or direction to look forward in the future. And I've only been able to do this in small gatherings, so I look forward to training and learning and being able to perform this for a gathering eventually.
It's interesting, or weird, I guess I should say, that you had just mentioned seat. It kind of leads into my next question. A lot of people know it as sitting out, the practice of Uttaseta. Do you have a memorable experience or a really powerful experience that's really kind of stuck with you in performing that or practicing that, where you've gone to the other side or crossed the veil? Has anything ever come back or stuck with you that really stands out?
There was a time when I was sitting out, was on the summit of a mountain in North Carolina, and it was early morning, and I had been up the entire evening, and I was just sitting on a rock, um, trying to experience, trying to connect with the land spirits, because I connect well with the human spirits, but the land spirits I was attempting to connect with, and uh, a very large black bear just came walking right past me. We knew we were there. I saw the bear saw me, and what stuck with me is that I had spent the entire evening trying to connect, and here was this bear just walking by, and I think I had forgotten that I had probably connected rather well, that the bear wasn't bothered by me and I was not bothered by the bear, which I should have been bothered by the bear. I should have been terrified, and I was not. Another time where I've crossed the veil and I've entered the world of the Disseer is I saw the line of my female ancestors, and I saw I saw their stories as though I lived them, and it was like remembering rather than interpreting. And they made it very clear to me that I was having a genetic memory. I was remembering their lives as though they were my own because they are, our Desir are part of us. They are part of our lines, and we carry their memories. And it made it very real to see bits and pieces of their life as though it were memories of my own.
We get to carry those pieces over in Orlog. Um, do you work in any other mediums? Is there anything else that you practiced in or that you like to practice in? Tarot, Ouija board, people use those crystals. Anything else that you dabble in?
I used to read tarot. The cards never really spoke to me very much. Uh, I enjoy the runes, but for me, uh, my path is more direct connection to the Desir, and when the Desir say to speak, I speak. And they usually choose some rather interesting timing uh, to speak to people. But I have worked in other mediums. But as I have grown more and more in the direction of Sailor, I have kind of walked away from tarot, and I've been to tarot readings where I've sat down with the reader and they will look at me and be like, "Why are you here?" And I said, "Well, I want a reading." And they said, "Would you do me first?" And I was like, "No." So I kind of walked away from tarot and just followed more Sailor path. But I
You
have
may
used.
answered a portion of this in a previous question, but where do you see your path as a Volva leading you in the future? I recall that you had mentioned briefly at some point possibly performing for a group of people or seeing for a group of people. Is that one part of it? Do you have any kind of longer sight to what you plan to do with this gift and practice?
I've always held it and kept it very close within a small group of people. Um, right now, I'd I'd like I'd like to take it in rather a small group and work towards a larger group's benefit. I'd like to be more of service to a large group of people rather than a smaller personal group of people. So I see it growing into potentially um, traveling and doing this right for other kids and helping them on their paths by giving what I can from what I was given as a gift.
If you could sum up in a sentence or two your best piece of advice to give someone new to their path, or maybe feeling like the practice that you hold is something that is calling to them or that they're getting signs for, you tell them to take it slow or jump head in.
I would ask them to spend some time sitting out and and asking their desir and asking their guides. A lot of people have different names for their helping spirits, but to spend time in reflection and sitting out and asking what the direction is and trust the desir as they speak to them, and to learn to listen rather than to go searching. Everyone's desir is very eager to speak to them, and I believe that if we learn to listen, our path will be made clear because the desir will guide that.
Sounds like pretty sound advice to me. Well, that sums up our nine for the nine. I want to thank you for your time, your insight, your knowledge and what you've shared. I appreciate that, and letting us get to peek a little into your life and your practice. Um, so thanks again for being here. Thank you all for joining us and your time this evening as well. I look forward to seeing you on the next one of the 9.